Disaster number 3, my investor wants his money back. This has happened to me as well with my clients. So the scenario here is that the optimistic investor has been looking for some funding, found a very friendly person, let's call him an angel investor, who said, yeah, I'll give you some money. How much do you want? 50,000, 100,000, no problem at all. Great business idea, would love to be a part of it. Puts the arm around the entrepreneur, I'll look after you, don't you worry about it. My lawyers are going to send you some paperwork, all be fine, just sign. So the entrepreneur thinks, oh, this is great, I'm going to get some money. So they sign up the paperwork and it all goes absolutely hunky-dory. However, after a period of time, the business is not quite so good, it's a bit problematic, the business isn't quite as productive as they thought it would be, and the angel investor says, well, I'd like some of my money back now. I need you to start paying me back. The entrepreneur thinks, well, hang on a minute, you're investing in my business. What are you talking about? Confusion. So come and see me. All these contracts and papers which they gleefully signed. There's a big problem here. Because what they've actually done is that they've given the shares and taken a loan. So the loan is an obligation, which means you have to pay the money back. The shares, as I've already said, are a piece of permanent property which the angel investor has got. So he's got both. He's got a loan and he's got shares. Happy days for the investor, disaster for the entrepreneur. So how could this happen? In essence, it happens because the entrepreneur doesn't know the difference between debt and equity. Disastrous. Years of wrangling follow and so on. It's another story. I thought they were with me for the long term. So we're all happy about the difference between debt and equity. I guess we all know what debt is because most people have got debts, they've got mortgages and loans and credit cards and so on. You get money from somebody, you have to pay it back. And the terms can be precise, they can be vague. If it's from a friend or a relative, they might be quite vague. Pay you back when I can. If it's from a mortgage company, you've got an interest rate, you've got payment terms and so on. So we're quite familiar with that. People who deal with angel investors and other investors sometimes get in a bit of a tangle because I don't think people are always that straight, unfortunately. And I think the Dragon's Den program on the television sometimes is a little bit murky to me because I think what they're talking about sometimes is debt. Because if it's debt, you've got to pay it back. And they say, I'm going to invest in your company. Beware the terminology, because I don't think loaning money is investing. I think that's loaning, it's not investing. Equity, on the other hand, is the jargon that people in the city use for share capital. As I said, it's a piece of property, and what they would do, that £50,000 that the angel investor is going to invest, is actually subscribed. I should have put the word subscribed, because the word subscribed is really, really important. Because what's happening is the £50,000 is going to the company, not to the entrepreneur, and the angel investor is getting shares in return for the £50,000. So he's investing, that's proper investing. It's an equity investment because he is subscribing for shares. He gets, let's say, 50,000 £1 shares. He's got his share certificate. Let's hope they've got a shareholders agreement. He's got his share certificate. But the company's got the £50,000, and there it stays. That company is the owner of that money, not the entrepreneur, not the angel investor. It's now owned by the company. So that scenario, pay up, can never happen. It cannot happen because the company is a separate legal person.
So what's the word you want to use as?
Subscribed. Subscribe for shares. So when somebody says, I want to invest in your company, make sure they subscribe for shares, and then make sure you've got a shareholders agreement. Of course, sophisticated investors will know all this, and private equity houses, they've got lots of lawyers, and they'll do it properly, providing they're straight and honest. So that will be fine. There'll be a lot of paperwork, but...
So when you go for subscription, subscribing for shares, So that would be a contract document itself in its own, is it?
Can be, yes. I mean, you don't need to. You can just pay the money and get the share certificate. But most people have an investment agreement of some sort, so they'll put money in, they'll get some shares. There might be a loan on the side, but at least it's clear that this bit's a loan and this bit's share capital. And it gets more complicated as you get more sophisticated. You might have one that switches to the other.
It's very risky.
Well, an investor might say, I want an either way bet.
Yeah, without the contract, yes.
I want to put the loan in. I'm expecting that money to come back because it's a loan. But if you're doing really well, I want to be able to switch it to shares. And that's not so bad because you're in a situation where the business is doing well. So he wants to convert the debt into equity, which you can do if the contract says that. And you don't have to pay the money back. So that's great as well. It naturally improves your capital. But that's later on. That's when your businesses are bigger and more sophisticated. But be clear about the difference between debt and equity.